All you gotta
Give
do
me
is
give me some signs too if you
hold
want
down
me to
your
go in.
space bar.
Yeah, I don't know what I would have said, but.
No, just wing it.
So we're getting right on to 7 o'clock.
Every day last week for her. Yeah, the second day.
We'll try to acknowledge others who join us as we move along. But let's get started with our business meeting because I want to get that as quickly done as possible so that we can enjoy the demonstration. I wanted to share with all of you the fact that we have donated a Delta lathe that we acquired some time ago, and we've been storing at the Rivet, and we've donated it to the Rivet. Now, the good news in that regard is that, particularly for those who don't have a lathe of their own, and if they are certified, by which I mean they've taken one of our classes, and therefore if they're certified and they come over to the Rivet and pay the daily or whatever it is, half daily, if you call over, they'll tell you exactly what it is. Then you can spend a couple of hours turning on the lathe until you get comfortable enough so you can feel like you can invest in your own lathe. So that's where we're hoping that will lead all of us. You do have to be certified, which means you do have to have taken one of our classes, or you could take an upcoming one, or possibly through a mentorship. That may also work. So get in touch with me if you would like more information in that regard. Get in touch with Camille at the Rivet if you'd like to come on over and find out just what the rules are. For example, you have to be COVID-19 compliant in every respect. So you have to have masks and you have to stay 6 feet apart and all those kinds of things. Now,
Reggie,
yes.
Reggie, are there tools available?
No, not yet.
It will be eventually.
It will be eventually, but right now you have to have your own.
Okay.
Yes. And
that's a relatively inexpensive way to get started. You get a basic tool set and bring it on over, and I think you got to have a little skin in the game in order to really enjoy the experience. That also leads us to the Rivet would like us to be doing some classes again. We're working on that right now because of the constraints of the CDC rules regarding COVID. We also recognize that you can't exactly have the instructor be 6 feet apart and have any kind of meaningful instruction. And so we're working our way through that. As soon as we have some definitive information, the classes will be smaller because the space is small. And so I think initially they're going to limit us to 3 lathes, 3 students. Again, if you want more information about that, send me an email and I'll get right back to you. Somebody mentioned today, they were on an email with me and asked about dues. We're working on electronic access. And in fact, Larry, maybe you could fill us in just a little bit on what your thinking is about that. You got to unmute, Larry.
Larry, there you go.
Sorry. A number of clubs use an application called Cheddar Up to pay dues and things like that electronically. So Jim Hopkins suggested that I try it, so I did. And we have collected dues from 2 people for 2021. And as soon as I get the green light, I will send that link out to everybody.
Yeah, that was great.
A secure link. If you choose to, you'd have to pay by credit card, I assume.
It is, yes, it is a secure link. That's one thing about Cheddar Up. It's a very widely used application.
Good.
It was nice, Larry. I did that in no time. I was in the taxi waiting for a passenger to walk out to the car. I mean, it took no time. And I don't even know if I'm really signed up with Cheddar. You know, I don't know if I have an account, but even without that, it took no time to make that payment.
You don't have to be signed up. There's nothing to sign in. When I send out the link, you just click it and it'll take you right to the page that has our dues on it.
Yeah, it was nice. That worked well. That's
Larry,
no
what green light do you need, Larry?
Well, I sent this out to the executive committee. I'm still waiting for a response.
Okay, well,
I approve.
yeah, I do too. I do too.
That's 3.
Let's assume that's the green light.
And it will come out tonight.
Okay,
Good.
very good.
Thanks, Larry.
Thank you.
Larry, when is the deadline for dues for 2021?
January 15.
Okay.
That's great, Larry. Thank you. Which takes me to the winter market here at the Rivet. They are providing an opportunity for individuals and or clubs like ours to set up a booth and sell your wares. You keep all the money except for 10%, which they're charging us to process the fees. The good news about that is you don't have to worry about being here all the time. You don't have to worry about collecting sales tax because they'll add that on themselves. It's kind of a painless proposition, and you keep the rest of the fees. We are going to ask, they're charging $50 for the booth, and so we are asking those who wish to sell to contribute their fair share. Right now we have 6 people who are planning to be here. I would encourage you to join in with us. I think it'd be great to have a really nice full booth. We do ask that you plan to spend maybe an hour or two. They really only want one person from the club to be here at a time. And so we are asking that you plan to spend an hour or two over the course of the 2 days. The way they've set it up is to be CDC compliant. People, in order to come to the market, they have to call ahead or write ahead, get a time schedule to come through so they can maintain the proper number of participants within the room and outside. People are setting up booths outside as well. The good news for us is that we are in the room. We will be warm. We won't be freezing in the cold. The market is next weekend, Friday and Saturday. I will be sending out more information the next day or two, but I would encourage you to consider putting some of your wares out. I know several people are, Ken Vasco mentioned, for example, that, coming into the holidays, he makes angels and maybe Christmas trees, and I'm not sure what other things. Those are things that people are likely to buy as Christmas gifts. If you're making pens, that may be the sort of thing. I only do bowls, so I'll bring a few of those. But again, we do expect an hour or two on site. We expect you to share the cost of the $50 booth fee. And I think that covers everything. I will send additional rules and precise location out in the next couple of days so you can see that I think it's going to be a very safe environment and an opportunity to sell your wares. With that said, do we have anybody who would like to do some showing off of your work or raising a problem or anything that's come up that you'd like to advice of other people? We just had Mark sharing a French rolling pin with us in advance of the meeting. Anybody else have something you'd like to share?
Yeah, I can show a few things.
Great.
You were talking about some of my angels, and I made a couple.
Look down there.
There they are. There's the angels I made. I've made a bunch of them for the show. I've made some small ornaments.
There you go.
Marvelous.
Very nice.
Yeah, I've made some, of course, my Christmas trees.
Yeah, super.
I tried some snowmen. This is my first attempt to make snowmen.
It looks like
Do those noses,
There we go.
do those noses grow as you lie?
No, this one's Trump, so yeah. And I also made a couple of pens. Here's I made some rifle pens in honor of the election. And I also made some bowls there they are. Thank you, Dan Kozar. He showed them off one time and I really liked them, so I made some small little bowls. So I have a bunch of everything. Just gonna throw a bunch of stuff in and see what happens.
Great. Anyone else have something to share? By the way, I hope you all know that if you set this on gallery view, when somebody is showing, they'll take up your full screen. And so you can see better what they are showing off. I hope if you haven't learned that before, please.
Speaker view, Reg.
Oh, speaker view? Okay. Thank you, Dan.
I have a couple images I could share with you of recent work.
Great.
Show us some.
All right. Maybe not. Host disabled attendee screen sharing. So another time, that's all right.
Hang on.
It'll only take a second, Steve.
Yeah.
All right.
You got the host here.
I actually like doing this kind of stuff right now because I can go through my shop and use up all the old little pieces of wood that I got sitting around everywhere. So kind of makes it fun.
Try again, Steve.
All right. Here we go. Thank you. Oops.
Uh-oh, change the name. There you go. Oh, wow.
This is kind of a sculptural piece. There's more carving involved in this probably than actual turning. It's called Rescued from the Fires. I made it thinking of the devastating fires that we've had this year. There's two fairly deep grooves cut in either side of this piece. So even if I was able to turn it on the inside with tools, you'd have to have a very thick wall in order to give allowance for cutting those grooves or those chasms in either side of the vessel. So this is done in two pieces. The inside was sort of carved using templates, and the two halves are tacked together at the ends and then mounted on a lathe and cut to the outside shape. And then those are separated again, and the top is cut with a bandsaw, and then the rest of it's kind of carved. The mouth of it is carved, and then it's all reassembled, re-glued together. There's also a glass insert that fits inside it, so it could be used as a vase. It's cherry. It's about 12 inches tall and 5.5 inches in diameter. There's one other shot of it.
That is very nice.
Very nice.
Beautiful.
Thank you. And then I had this small cherry burl, and I was wondering what to do with it, and I just decided to make a ball. So I've made myself a very fancy croquet ball.
Nice.
It's just fabulous grain in it. So I was pretty pleased. It has a nice feel to it, but it's not very useful. But it's kind of cool.
Steve,
What's that?
how big's the diameter?
That's about 3 inches.
Okay.
It almost looks like it could be a planet.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
This is a maple bowl. And I actually found a very large piece of wood near their Bollesburg Memorial Park along the road there. And I turned this. It's probably almost 15 inches in diameter and a good 6 inches deep, and turned it so it's about an inch thick or more, and then set it aside to dry for 2-3 months. I'm afraid it split quite a bit at the top edge, so I had to remove and easy 1.5 inches. So this is finally about 4 inches high instead of 5.5, 6 inches high. And it's about, I think 12, 13 inches in diameter. But maple sure is nice stuff to turn. I'm really liking that, and like to get a hold of some more of that. And then this is just the last one where I added the ball to the picture.
It is.
it.
That's very nice.
Thanks.
Thanks for sharing.
Thank you. Yes.
Yep.
That's cool.
That's really great. You can see how easy it is if you take pictures as he did, and we'll enable you to share your screen so that you can show off underside or top side or whatever you want in order to fully explain what you've done. Please do that in the future, or do the same thing with Mike's coffee hours, of which, by the way, there will be another one next Wednesday. I think it's in the morning, is it? 9 o'clock.
10 o'clock.
10 o'clock,
10 o'clock.
excuse me. Anyone else have something to share? That was great, Steve, thank you.
Can I say just one more thing about my angels? You
Of
mind?
course.
I tried to make them a little bit lighter than I did. I usually kept solid bottoms, so I tried 2 different things. I tried hollowing out, and that adds a lot of time to it because you have to be a little more careful about it, and it adds some more finishing time. But I also tried a step drill. I don't know if you can see this.
Yes.
So I put a step drill in there, and I kind of like that because it gives you a place you can put them on your on the trees. It'll help hold a little bit better. So I don't know. I'm just thinking, asking what people think of these ideas rather than having the solid base, because that would have been all solid and pretty heavy. It's oak, by the way. Both of them are oak.
Ken, do you put a loop through them at all so they, kind of loop them? Oh, yeah, I see.
Yep, I do that, and then I put a hook on them. So, but yeah, I like them a little bit lighter.
It should be 2 ounces or less.
2 ounces or less. Okay, I'll try
How's
that.
that figured out, the 2 ounces or less?
What was that?
Why is it 2 ounces? I mean, who figured?
So it doesn't bend the tree limbs?
So somebody figured that out, that over 2 ounces will bend the limbs.
A lot of
If you
places.
have an artificial tree, that doesn't matter.
Yeah, it does, because I have an artificial.
Well, okay,
A lot of
some of my
contests,
branches will hold that, but okay.
a lot of contests put a maximum of 2 ounces to it.
Okay, thank you. Thank you.
Reggie,
Yes.
will there be a virtual aspect to this market next weekend?
No, I don't believe so.
Okay, so how can one member take advantage of the products that other members have made if they would be interested in purchasing something? Other
You'll
than-
have
Go
to,
there.
you'll have to come to the Rivet and just walk through and buy what you want.
All right.
If you go to the Rivet site and go to their craft market, they give you a link to sign up for a time because they want everyone to have signed up for a specific time.
Thank you, that's good information. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Any other comments or questions?
I have a piece here, if you want to see it.
Absolutely.
See if I can.
I don't know yet.
Mhm.
Start talking, Travis, so we can see you.
See me?
Keep talking. Tell us what it is and what you did.
This was a knob that I cut off a dead tree, thinking it was a burl. It turned out to be a bunch of wormholes.
It's a burl with wormholes.
Might be. There might be some burl in it.
Yeah, there is. That's a nice piece.
It is nice.
I like
How
to
big-
think that this is like there's 3 craftsmen here, you know, the tree, the worms, and me.
The worms win.
It's about probably about 7 inches or so.
You know what wood it is?
I believe it's cherry.
Jerry?
And then this was a live edge bowl that I started to do. I dropped it, broke it, and then I glued it back together, and I decided, well, maybe I'll try to hide those spots a little bit. So I burnt the outside with a torch.
Good idea. Did you buff it then, or what?
No,
Trav-
it's like a polyurethane finish.
Yeah, but you did you buff some of the char off it, or?
Yeah, I hit it with a propane torch and then just sanded it real good. And when you sand it, it kind of like evens out the burn.
Okay.
That's all.
Okay, well, thank
Trav.
you, thank you. Hey, this is what this is really designed to be for, so you can share the work that you're doing, share how you've done it, give others some new ideas. I think this has been a wonderful meeting thus far, and I really appreciate your contributions. And I think with that, I'm going to toss the baton over to Mike, and we'll get the demonstration underway.
I'm not doing it, it's up to you now. All right, so I don't know how many of you remember when I did this thing once before. I had a really big gizmo to try and turn this stuff, but I made a new one. It's a lot more compact, a lot more user-friendly than the other one was, for sure. Space, and then I can make it that I can go back and forth this way, or I can have this has to go this way to get the threads turned and all that. And I can control the speed a whole lot better on the lathe than I could with my router. The router was 1 speed and done, and
Pull that down.
and I'm getting flack on my mask. So anyway, this I can control it a whole lot better. However, I will say that with these rods that you get and the nuts that you get, there still is a slight bit of play. I don't know if you can see that. So you'll see when I turn this that I put my hand on here on the chuck as I'm ready to do it. And then I will turn this in and it'll start cutting when we get to the point that it has to be. And I don't know if you can see it on the camera or not, but on the inside edge, they're always tapered a slight bit to get this started. It just makes the threads run out a whole lot better. So what I'm going to try and do is turn one. I'll show you one that I did turn here. This one I did, and it's got the threads on the lid and on the inside of the box. And what you do once you have them turned is I usually take a wire brush and wire brush them down a little bit, and then I put furniture paste wax on it so that it stays nice and smooth when you go to turn them together. And this one I was lucky enough to make it work that I don't know if you can see that, but the grain is cathedral grain is matching with the top. And that's my aim, is to try and get them that the tops match the bottoms when you do the boxes. So if anybody has any questions as I go along here, just holler and we'll stop and try and answer any questions that you have. Are there plans for that? There are. When you say are there plans, I saw a picture of it and I just guessed that sizes and decided I'm going to try this. And I don't know if any of you have seen Mike Peace. Yeah. He's a wood turner that's pretty well known throughout the country. He actually made one just like this, and that's whose pictures I saw. And I've been in contact with him, and he's been very nice to send me information back and forth. as far as measurements, he said too, he said, it's all up to you and what you want to do. So that's the way we did it. And it's just so much handier to do it this way.
He does have an article with plans somewhere though, I think, right?
He has an article with the pictures on, and like that's where I got the pictures from too, is to cut it like that. And what I'm cutting tonight too is this rod is 3/4 by 16 thread. Before I was using a 1/8 thread on the other ones, which is a much larger thread. This is a fairly fine thread, and as I learned, as I was playing around with it, I found out that I have to use some different kinds of woods, and Jim Finley was kind enough to give me some stuff to try, and it's working out a whole lot better with the harder woods now. So with that.
What about the cutting bit?
Cutting bit is a 60-degree cutting head. I bought that through Amazon, actually. Has a 3/8 inch shaft. You can get, for your lathe, if you wish, you can get a number 2 tapered collet, which will fit right into your headstock. But you have to also use a drawbar, which I have a drawbar on the back of this. You don't see it on the picture right now, but it's a 1/4 by 20 rod threaded through, and it threads into the back of the drill chuck to hold it tight in the number 2 taper so that it doesn't come loose on you. One night I was messing around with
You want to just address this again?
Yeah, this is the drawbar. It actually goes all the way through the headstock over to the back of the number 2 taper. And there's a 1/4 by 20 thread in there, and this thing threads in there, and then I have it tightened up with a wing nut and a blocking plate here to hold it in. It keeps that thing really tight. I will tell you that, like I was saying, one night I was trying to get this thing ready, and I forgot to put the drawbar in, and I didn't have the lathe on, I don't think, 15 seconds, and the thing started coming out. And it gets a little scary when you have a blade like this on here, this 60-degree thing. It's very, very sharp. So
the same thing when you're buffing.
Yeah.
If you're using a dual buffing system, having a drawbar is really important.
Yeah. Yeah, anytime you put something with just a number 2 taper in that headstock, you better have a drawbar on it.
Other than a center.
Yeah, other than a center, but I'm just saying,
Yeah.
if you're not gonna hold it in with something, if it's free like that, you better think about a drawbar.
Yeah, I think you could get a collet chuck for that for like $10 at Craft Supply.
Well,
They're pretty accurate.
They're like $18.
Well, yeah, when you buy it with the drawbar, but then the other ones you buy without the drawbar, they're about 10.
Yeah.
You already have a drawbar. That's 3/8 inch.
No, this one's 1/4 20. That's what the thread is.
I think,
Chuck.
yeah. You can get your own.
Yeah,
They're easy to make.
Multiple things you can do. As I think I told you before, this thing will run. I can run it, that it comes back, forward, and you need to do that so that when you get here. The other thing that I learned is when I cut this in, it cuts in at 0.075. If you cut it deeper than that, things start getting too loose and don't work together too well. So there's two ways I can check it. I have this little feeler gauge that's a number 16, which tells me what the depth is, and I can hold that pretty close in there and get an idea of where I need to start with it. The other thing that I use is I have this caliper, which I use, and I can set that at 0.0. I have it at 0.795 right now. And that's the distance that I want to cut in there with that thread. And I do the same when I do the lid. It wants to be another 0.075. Okay? So the first thing I got to do is line this up. And I have pencil marks on here to see what my depth should be.
So how do you know where to start?
It just
So that you get the threads, the the cathedral grain to line up.
If you want the grain to line up, after you have them both turned, if they don't line up, you take a little bit off the top here and you keep playing with it until you get it that it
Okay.
goes to where it's got to go. I haven't hit one yet that it matches first shot. All right. Everybody ready?
Mike,
Here we
how do
go.
you get the thing on axis perfect with, on lathe axis when you line that jig up?
I'm not sure what you're saying.
Well, you're,
The center of the lathe has to match up to the center of the chuck. Does that make
right, but
sense?
you just do that by eye?
No.
No, it's all measured.
Oh.
So for instance, his lathe at home is a 5-inch
Yeah, you
swing.
you can't see it. I have 1-inch blocks under this to hold this up off the bed 1 inch so that I'm center with this. This is a 6-inch, mine's a 5-inch.
Oh, I see. So it's just built in there. Okay.
Yeah.
Could you show the overhead view again, or the back of that thing, kind of?
The back.
Try the alt N again.
Is that what you're looking for, Travis?
Looked like you had the handle on the back there.
Yeah.
Yes.
There's a handle here to turn this, and there's a handle back here to turn this, which moves this forward or backward.
Okay.
And I
Like
tried.
a metal lathe.
It's like an XY vice.
Coordinate,
Yeah, one goes one way, another goes the other way. And there's guys that have made these using an XY lathe vice. But that takes a lot more metal work than I'm into, so wood's a whole lot better. I can tell you, I tried to get this thing as tight as possible, and on the inside here, I have Teflon tape, and I actually did something else that Mike Pence didn't do his pieces. I made a lip down here that this thing actually fits in under there so that it can't jump up out of the top. There's as you make them, you start learning a couple different things about it.
So you can see where he's got that.
Yeah, that's where I have it. And then the piece on the bottom actually comes in, so it holds it in place. Because this center board right here is screwed down to this white one, which is also bolted to the table.
Is there a limit to how small a diameter vessel you can work on there?
Probably about 1 inch to 1.25 inches at the max.
Or the mid.
At the minimum?
Yeah, minimum. I haven't tried any real small ones yet, but that's in my future ideas to do is do some real small ones.
Yeah, I thought that might be neat.
Yeah. Yeah, especially with this fine thread.
Exactly.
It does a lot better in smaller things than it will be on the larger pieces. So what I'm going to try and do is turn this, get the threads in here, and then I'm going to finish turning this box. All right? Any more questions?
Could you buy a smaller diameter cutter to do smaller things?
The smallest one I found is this one in a 60 degree, and this is actually 3/4 inch.
Okay.
I'm sure there probably are some smaller ones if you wanted to get down to that smaller stuff.
Like you wanted to do a pin box or something like that.
Yeah, yeah. And I imagine that you could probably, as long as that box, as long as the opening isn't much more than just about maybe 7/8 of an inch,
You ought to be able to do it.
you could probably cut it with this. It just takes some fine watching what you're doing. All right. So if anybody is interested in this, let me know. I'll get you the pictures that I got it off of, and I'll try and make some measurements on it for you. If you think you want to try and make something like this, you won't hurt my feelings if you don't. All right. You'll see that I think I might have said this earlier, that because these threads and the nuts that go with them have a little bit of play in them, so you'll see me hold my hand on here to keep this at a steady, same place, so it runs right through the threads. The other thing that I do is on the inside of the box, inside of the bottom or the top, you'll see that there's a groove in here. I don't know if you can see that, but that's so when the cutter gets past there, it still has a little bit of room. If you run the cutter in too far and you get caught on the back end, you get a mess. It sort of starts jumping around and doing some crazy things. It's almost like a bad catch.
If you're
So
hand
that's the
chasing,
same thing they do with hand chasing threads too, is put
Yeah.
that little relief cut.
Yeah, you gotta have space for something to move back there a little bit. It's easier to do on the bottom than it is on the top itself. It's hard to get that relief on the top. So, but the top you can watch it a little closer because you can see the cutter hit a whole lot better than right here. But, okay, so I have it set right at my pencil mark, and I'm just going to start cutting it through. Okay, so I'm as close as I want to get for that back relief. I shut it off to reverse it back. I tried just spinning it back while it's cutting, and that seems to mess the threads up for some reason, so I don't do it that way anymore.
Is there any advantage to doing two cuts, lighter cut and then a heavier cut, or do you find that just one cut works well enough?
I'm finding that just one cut is all I want to do. If you try and do a second cut, if you don't get it exactly where it started before, you just cross thread everything and it messes them all up. And if I'm only going at like 0.39 or 0.79, you'll see, I have a wild brush that I always just go over this with. And I don't know if you can see those threads.
Yeah.
tilt it back.
Yeah.
There you go.
Like that.
There you go.
It's a fine thread.
Whew, that is fine for wood, isn't it?
Yeah.
And that's black locust.
Yeah, this is
Okay.
locust. It really cuts really nice.
So what woods are acceptable for cutting threads, Jim?
Well, we know cherry doesn't work very well.
Yeah, I tried cherry and that just went funky.
But hard maple, it should work pretty well. he has a piece of dogwood that ought to work pretty well.
Yep. And this is
Hey,
a piece of
Jim.
sugar
Yeah.
maple.
Jim, I thought the whole purpose of these things was to enable you to use a wider range of simple domestic woods versus hand chasing, where supposedly it's much more species specific. You need very fine grain wood, etc. I thought half the purpose of these things was to enable you to, in fact, use a walnut, use a cherry. That's not the case.
Well, walnut has got an open grain pattern, so it's not going to chase very well.
Yeah.
Yeah, good point. Yeah.
You know, the locust has an occluded vessel structure, and that seems to work pretty well. I think white oak might work all right.
If you look online, the guys that thread boxes, almost all of them use some kind of a hardwood.
Yeah.
And for the same simple reason, I'm sure if you're hand chasing the threads, it works the same as this thing.
It's like a sugar maple should work decent.
Yeah, in fact, I have a piece of sugar maple here that if I need to turn it, I'll turn that one. But
Does the grain direction have any effect on if you're like cutting into end grain, or how did you have that wood mounted?
I cut into end grain like I do for all boxes. Go right into the end grain.
I think if you did it any other way, it would tear out.
Yeah, I don't think it would work coming in from the sides, or I think you get some tear out. And everybody that I've seen do threading always does it against end grain too.
How fast did you have the lathe running?
Well, I tell you, this one doesn't have a gauge on it. I'm going to guess it was around 1800 though.
Okay.
Something like that. When I was doing, go
I
ahead.
have a question. Could you use a coarser thread for the feed? Can you get different rod that has different thread size so that you
Yeah.
would have a coarser thread in the box?
Can you switch it over to, or I guess you need to move the camera, right?
Yeah, bring the camera.
Sorry.
These rods, the rod that I have here. Hold on, we're coming.
This is it.
Oh,
Sandinistas.
still works.
Plant malfunction. Let me have that camera.
Oh, yeah, sure.
So this thread here is, like I said, it's a 3/4 by 16. The unit that I made before was a 1/8, which is a much coarser thread. And the nuts that are on the inside here, if you want to hold this a second, right, I'll get you. I have one with me. Yeah. Inside this top piece, I have these nuts, and I have them gen welded onto the washers, which are screwed into the end here. I was hoping that would keep it from wobbling a little bit, but it didn't seem to solve the problem.
How
But
do you have them on there?
gen weld, it's an epoxy weld
Oh, okay.
that you put on it. You could put, if you put a different rod on and different nuts in here, you can put any size thread you want to work with, as long as you can get an adapter that your chuck fits it.
Mike, when you used the coarser threading, now that was significantly coarser. Did that allow you to have a little more leeway with a little softer woods?
I don't
think
think
so.
so. No, it basically did the same thing, because I tried some cherry with that one time and that didn't work so good either.
That's a bummer.
When you read about chasing threads, they usually say the finer thread chases easier than
Yeah.
a coarse thread.
Right.
Okay.
Pardon me while I fix this camera here.
Home wrecker.
Mike, your piece of equipment, is that entirely your design? Or is that a modification of the gentleman who you obtained the article from?
It's from Mike Pieces. I made it off of his design. And
How
if
much-
you,
How
Go
much
ahead.
time and cost? What were those factors like?
well, between the wood and the thread rod and some T-nuts and the big rod and the nut itself, I only have about $25 into it.
Wow.
Time-wise, I didn't really keep track of time because I'd make a piece of something and then I'd do something else and make another piece to it. But I'd say you could probably put this thing together in 3-4 hours at the most.
If
You'll
you
see
can put it together.
I think anybody could do this, really. It's not as hard as it seems. The plywood, actually, I get for nothing, and it's perfect grade plywood. Get it from Spectra Wood. I don't know if any of you are familiar with that, but Spectra Wood makes furniture out off of the Benner Pike up in the back, and they have cutoffs that they put out in bins every day, and people are allowed to go there and get it. And so it is really, really nice plywood. No voids or
I have a
anything
friend,
like.
I have a friend, sorry to interrupt you, I have a friend who works for Spectre.
Yeah.
And she's given me a lot of scrap. They're more or less sizes for sides of drawers.
Yeah.
And it's very high quality plywood. I agree with you.
It is the best plywood you can buy.
I made some dado cuts today to make a box, and very good. It's just hard to get bigger pieces of material. I've asked her for maybe like 24 by 32 sheets, and being naive and not knowing that that's too large of a piece. She said they keep those aside for additional components to some of their furniture, or some of the workers themselves hold those. But it's very, very good plywood.
I've got some pieces 24 by 24. I've got some that are 12 by 36, 12 by 48. And I even have some 12 by 14 by 60. They get some pretty nice pieces out there, but there's a lot of people that know about it. So it's first come, first serve.
What time do you have to be there, Mike?
Well, I don't want to give that away because that might mess my time up. But no, they started something new since COVID, really. You used to be able to go out, say at 2:30 in the afternoon, just before they shut down, I think at 4 o'clock. And by 3:30, if there is still stuff in the bin, they throw it in the dumpster. But now they save it and they put everything out at 8 o'clock in the morning. And then you got to have at it and get it and hope you can get some by then or later. But anyway, so the plywood was very, very cheap. But
Hey,
and if anybody, go ahead.
That large rod that goes through the block at the top there.
Yes.
Is that just loose in that block, or how is it attached to that block?
No, it's inside that block. There are a nut on each end. Like, can you see that nut?
You're gonna have to switch cameras.
No.
Yeah, hold on a second. We're gonna switch camera here.
You have
So
to
that's
tell me.
actually inside the block.
Yes.
Okay.
There's the nut like this. It fits one on each end. And then you'll see I have it drilled and I have screws in there to hold it in there to try and keep it pretty tight.
And then you got a jam nut here.
Yeah, I just have two nuts on the back end here to hold this and one up here at the chuck end. This stuff, the rods I bought out at Fastenal, the rod and the nuts, you got to buy the nuts in 10 to a pack. The washers were the same thing, and then the rod actually comes in 3 foot. It's the shortest blank they have of that. But it's easy to cut it. It's hacksaw it off and whatever.
And how does that attach to your chuck there? Is it the same screw on your chuck, or?
I'll show you here. I have an adapter up here that goes, it's a 3/4 by 16 inside, and then it's a 1 by 8, the same as my chuck, and the same as the drive on your headstocks.
Okay.
So that was probably the most expensive part. That was $16 and some cents for that
Insert.
adapter. Although it did come with my chuck, so it didn't cost me $16.18. It was just part of the chuck. But there's a lot of different adapters out there that you can adapt some kind of rod to that for your chuck. Anything else? If not, we'll try and turn the lid. I always have to get myself acclimated here because one goes the opposite of the other.
You need to pat your head and rub your stomach.
Yeah. Again, you'll see that the edge of this is tapered a slight bit so that because this cutter head also has a slight taper on it, it makes it a lot easier for it to start in without getting real crazy.
This represents the top of the box, Mike?
Yes, this is the top. And I don't want to cut this as deep because I think I cut the other one a little too deep. Okay.
There's not many threads on that.
No, I cut the other one a little.
Now, do you do anything to adjust fit or any times by maybe cutting down the height of the threads after you've cut them? Anything along those lines, or is it usually dead on?
I just said tonight, if this doesn't work, watch out. No, there's no way of cutting that thread down once it's in. Once you cut it, it's cut.
Okay.
If it doesn't work, this box becomes a regular box with just a regular lid.
Okay.
There is no way to fix it up in any other way.
There's no real fine-tune ability.
No. So again, I take the wire brush and try and brush the threads out. It does get a little bit in there, but not much. And again, you can see the threads.
Well, they cut nice, didn't they?
Yeah, this actually is the nicest thread I've seen yet.
Yeah.
On the locust. So this is the moment of truth. And if it doesn't work, which it's not gonna, I didn't cut it deep enough.
So could you put that back in?
I'm gonna try it.
And just take a little bit off?
Yeah, I'm gonna try and cut it deeper.
Here we go.
So
This goes to your question, your earlier question, Ken.
yeah. Does it work? I don't know. We're gonna find out.
So you have to get that started in the right place.
Yeah, I'll watch where it starts. You can pretty much see where a thread starts. And hopefully it's gonna be the same.
So do you start with the outer diameter of that piece, the exact interior diameter of the other piece, or do you have a little bit of play there?
Supposed to have like a 0.075 difference between the lid and the inside.
All right.
And then you're supposed to allow for each one. Now, the problem that I did here was I took this piece out and instead of marking it, which I should have done, now it's going to be hit or miss whether I get it at the right spot.
Well, you need to find the starting point, right?
Yeah, that's the kicker. I'm right there. I'm right there.
It was such a pretty thread too.
Well, it'll still be pretty, I think. I can soon tell. I don't know. Well, I'll start it and then we'll see. So what you should do is find your number one thing on your chuck and then mark this so that when you take it out of there, you put it back in where you got it. And I forgot to do that on the first one, so will it work? I don't know. We'll find out. I have 2 more blanks here we can try if I have to.
Hey, Mike, do you ever put like a pencil line from top to bottom to help aid you in aligning the grain when you fine tune that? Try to get to match.
Yeah, I took too much off. No, I haven't tried that, Robert. But I took too much off of that one, so this is going to become a regular box at some point. So what time is it?
1:45, 54.
All right. We'll try and turn another one, if that's okay with you guys.
This sugar maple.
Yeah, we're going to try sugar maple on this one. I may have to move
Mike,
it.
as you're setting up, could you talk a little bit about your finishing technique? You had mentioned that you use furniture wax as an application over the threads.
Yeah, I just put that on with a toothbrush, just brush it on. I'm gonna have to move this.
How do you prevent excess wax from gumming the threads up and interfering with the on-off application?
I don't get excess. If you use it with a toothbrush, just get a light brushing in the paste can, and then I just put it around there and then basically wipe it.
Yeah, there's no lock.
Then it works.
Down below.
That's just on the.
Yeah, that's the worst.
That I do that.
When you do your boxes, do you always do the top of the box solid, or do you ever do it the opposite way where you got the inside threads on the lid?
Gotta be a way to hold that.
I haven't done it that way, no, but you could. I mean, you can do it either way. It's, I guess it's just your preference. It's just
I
that.
just wondered if there was a benefit or not to doing one way or the other.
I don't know if there is or isn't.
I think I had
in
it.
all the boxes that I've ever made, I've always just done the inside in the box and the outside on the lid. You understand what I'm saying there?
I think I donated it. I did donate the tripod. I don't know where it went.
No, I don't have any of those.
I'm sighting this by eye. When I have it at my lathe at home, the square goes right up against it, so it works out pretty good. But this looks fairly good. So we'll work with that.
That rod in the top of that's getting longer and longer. Underneath the camera, that's getting longer.
I think this is a broken tripod.
you like that box?
Handy.
Okay.
We're not the focus for some reason.
Yeah, I know, and I can't, there's no manual focus.
And Mike, do you always make a point? Do you cut the threads on the bottom, for example, before you fully hollow out the bottom?
That's the way I've been doing it, yeah. I
So you have a
could
little more
probably,
support?
I don't know if it gives me more support, but it's just preference. You
Yeah.
could hollow it out too.
Sidewalls are.
Yeah. I'm guessing. Well, something's not in there, right? Because this sucker's missing.
It's getting looser, I swear.
No, this is.
Don't forget to mark it, Mike.
Yeah. Okay, that's mark number 1. So before I even do anything. So this is just a little bit of an experiment, you know. Okay. I think we're set. Cutting nice too.
Yeah. It's a nice hard wood. Piece of sugar maple to make it original.
I'm up against that.
You know, like.
The other thing I always do is cut the threads deeper in the top, in the bottom. You can't get as many threads on the lid. So when you want to try and get it to match up, it's easier to take some off the top edge here to get it for the grain to match up. Didn't think about that.
Could move that in, so.
I just put this one up here and that one back here. It'd probably be the best thing I could do.
That would work, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
Try it with the first lid.
Try it with the first lid.
Yeah.
Yeah. You want to see what it is?
So you're actually threading it, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Putting threads in there.
That's awesome.
This is one that's.
Where's Camille?
Hi.
This is one that actually works.
Cool.
And this one I made so that the grain lined up.
That's awesome.
Okay. It's not as nice as the
Locust.
locust, but it should turn. So be smart. Do it right this time. Okay. Yeah. It's terrible when you're not at home, you know where everything is, and when you're doing this stuff, it's, where did I put that?
It's interesting how that wrench wants to ride up.
Yeah. Yeah. Now, I hope I have enough to get in there, but I probably don't.
We're gonna have to move it forward.
Yeah. And when I do that,
You're gonna wanna mark it again too.
yeah, I want to take and move that nut front here.
Okay.
That's not out there.
Okay, moves.
It's on mine.
Oh.
Same size thread.
There we go.
I'll take that one. My knob was hitting the turning handle. That's why I'm switching these nuts. Plus I have to move this thing forward a little bit.
Can you hear him or should he speak louder?
I can hear him.
I can hear.
He's fine.
Okay, that's good.
You perpendicular.
I'll find that here in a second.
Oh, shit, I got it.
Yeah, go. I think so.
Got a web underneath here. Oh, I'll wash it.
I tried this with wooden blocks under there, but mine didn't let me move it at home, so I just went to the bigger washers.
Fender washers.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Minor issues, minor issues. Okay.
Okay.
You want to mark that with a pencil? Yeah. Okay. Number one, right there.
He's looking hard. Robert.
Okay. Give it a shot.
Well, how do you know how deep you are?
I eyeballed it.
You eyeballed it.
Pretty much.
The carriage is getting loose or something.
Yeah.
What would happen if you put a spacer in there to pull those sides together?
Spacer.
You know, you put a spacer in here and then pull these in tighter. You understand what I mean?
Yeah, maybe I could just put a rod through there and
Yeah, tighten it somehow.
tighten it a little. Once it gets to where it's gotta be. Okay, everybody. Time to tell.
Let's get it. No.
No. Now it's so close though, that I should be able to get this now. There's that number one. Jaw is right there.
Is this stock all kiln dried?
What?
Kiln dried? I would think so.
No, this is all air dried wood.
But down to a pretty low moisture content?
It's probably sitting somewhere around 6. Because it's been inside for a year and a half.
Mm-hmm.
Inside a heated shop and an air conditioned shop, so.
Would that affect how well it cuts? How dry it is? I mean, obviously it'll affect maybe how much it's gonna move, but.
It could affect it, I
So
suspect.
One more shot.
But that sugar maple was cut 3 years ago. And it's been in the shop almost 2 years now, so it ought to be pretty good. The black locust was inside for since sometime around January of last year. So it's pretty dry as well. You know, if wood is just air dried, our equilibrium moisture content is 20% here, if it's not in a heated or air conditioned space. And so you're still gonna have dimensional change as it moves through absolute dry where you've got vessel moisture out of it. So if it's in an air conditioned or a heated space, it's gonna drop somewhere between 4 and 8. And then you're not gonna have any dimensional shift of the wood.
I'm sorry, relative to 20%? Though I didn't quite follow that. Our
Equilibrium moisture content for air dried wood in this part of the state is about 20% moisture content.
okay.
And if you put it in a heated and air conditioned space, you're gonna bring it down to somewhere between 4 and 8.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Okay. Yeah, go the right direction, Mike. Maybe not enough. This is just like when you're fitting a top for friction fit, a tiny bit at a time.
So you can actually figure out percentage of turns on your wheel to get your depth.
Yeah.
But there is a cross right.
So close. This is where the wax would be good.
Yeah, we got a little bit of wax.
So as I told you before, what I do at home is I have furniture paste wax that I'll put on here to make the threads run much smoother. Okay.
What do you want to do?
He wants to use the blade to push it off.
Got it.
Oh,
You can hear it, it's really tight.
I bumped the key on here.
Just hit your
That's right.
escape key.
We got it here, but
Okay.
Hit your escape key.
Escape.
No.
Okay.
All right. So, like I say, it turns in, but it's pretty tight because I don't have you can hear it squeaking maybe. Yeah.
I still want you to try the first lid.
Try the first lid. Oh, on this box? You think the lowest one's gonna fit this? It's way much bigger. You see that?
They still there?
yeah, everybody's here.
Should I hit gallery again?
There you go. We're back. We're back. So like I said, if I had brought my racks along, this would fit in here a lot better. But we got it now. It's right there. And I don't want to turn it all the way in because it actually gets itself locked in there really tight. It's a hard
Is there
time.
tapering?
I guess. I don't understand the whole thing, but it gets, you saw how tight I was trying to get that thing apart, so. Anyway. Oh,
How do threads hold up over the seasons? I mean, spring, are they tighter? Summer, they're not as tight? How does that work?
What was the question?
how do threads hold up over the seasons?
Well, if you had it somewhere where it wasn't in a conditioned space, it's going to pick up moisture, and so it might get tighter.
So I'm gonna switch now. If you have questions, it's a good time to ask something while I switch over to just turning the box, finish turning the box.
Take these off.
I got a question for Mr. Finley.
Yeah.
So let's say I'd like to try to learn a hand chase. Here, domestically, how many species of wood am I looking at that you can reasonably expect to turn on this machine well versus, say, domestic species, if there are even any, that you could hand chase? Or what's the jump going from this to, say, hand chasing by comparison, as far as species of wood go?
Jim's having a little trouble hearing you. I think if I understood you correctly, you were asking if you were trying to hand chase, how many different species of wood in this area would be suitable for that. Is that correct, Robert?
Yeah, or just domestically in the States. I mean, it seems as if this machine itself kind of, you need to have fairly specific, rather hard, fairly fine wood as it is. How much more of a jump in terms of fine grain hardwood to then be in the realm of being able to hand chase?
I think if you could do it with this, you can hand chase it.
Yeah.
Really?
I mean, it's just not any different than hand chasing in a lot of ways.
Uh-huh.
And how many different woods would we have in Pennsylvania that you could hand chase?
Yeah, I guess I don't know. Holly or boxwood, maybe.
Well, holly might chase. Holly's actually pretty soft.
Oh, okay.
It's even grain, and so we were going to try a piece of holly, but I couldn't put my hands on a that was solid enough. Although I did give you one piece.
Yeah, I want to get a smaller.
Maybe I'm thinking of boxwood then.
Well, box is not a native.
Oh, okay. Is that more English?
But, you know, something like Ironwood, which is Australia, Virginiana, Blue Beach, Carpinus, Caroliniana, they would probably turn really nicely. The dogwood will probably work real nice. Sugar maple, I think that, I thought for a while sycamore might work, but I think sycamore is probably too soft, although it's got some interesting grain patterns. Elm might work. So I think there's a number of them, Robert, that would work.
Okay.
I'm gonna have to move over there.
Get up. Pretty good, Rich. Stay there. Why won't that stay?
It's being contemporary.
There we go.
All right, so basically I'm just gonna hollow out the box.
What are you using?
Spindle
Quarter
gouge.
inch? Quarter inch spindle gouge?
Yeah, 3/8.
3/8 spindle gouge.
By the way, you might have noticed I don't have a smock on, but I have a regular shirt, and I always put a piece of tape across my pocket so I don't fill it up with sawdust. I'm just checking the depth to make sure I'm not getting too deep with this. I keep looking for the switch over on the right side, and mine has a switch on the right.
How do you judge the wall thickness?
Basically by sight. Sometimes I'll measure it, depending, I'm gonna take the threads off of this one, so. The other thing I have at home that I don't have here is I have an air hose here with a blow gun on it.
Yeah.
So that I can get things pretty much smoothed out.
You don't have your mask on.
We're gonna all have fun with it.
Uh-oh. Ken, look what he's got.
Can you see that, Ken?
Good for you. Good for you.
This is a homemade one.
It's good to be modern.
I'm just using it to smooth up the sides. Reg asked me one time how I make the bottom square, and I have this tool that I made.
Like a banana.
It's almost like a badan, and I can just go straight in there. Yeah, it is.
So you got the tip of the tool below the tool rest.
Yeah.
Which reduces how aggressive it is.
Hopefully, yeah.
I think we should turn that into a negative rake scraper.
Yeah, I've thought about that too a couple times to see if it,
You can get a negative rake easy wood tool scraper.
They cost money.
yeah, that's too expensive. That's why I make my own.
You ever decorate the inside of the box? You know, maybe put some circles in there or something?
I do on the lids.
Okay.
I haven't done it in the bottom, so I shouldn't say that. I put inserts in the bottom sometimes because
Because you went through?
I've gone through. So you put another piece of some other kind of wood in there to make it look nice, but. So I didn't bring sandpaper and stuff to sand this off tonight either, so.
I think
The black workers box.
Yeah,
We know that doesn't fit.
yeah. So we know that this doesn't fit, but we're gonna make this fit onto there somehow.
You need the tailstock though?
I don't think so.
Okay.
I'll
I
take
didn't know that you pushed it in against the headstock.
This is a measuring guess.
Now you've got your jaws fairly wide or fairly open.
Yeah,
Do you sometimes make your tendons smaller so that you can close your jaws more
Sometimes.
tightly?
I know you're supposed to have them that they close pretty much, I think. But I haven't had any problem with it flying off,
Okay.
so I've been sort of sticking with that. Okay, so I measured the inside of that with this caliper. And then what I would do is, in fact, I'm gonna do that first. Let's cut this lid down a little bit. I've already got this one decorated. I don't want to mess it up. So what I usually do is get this thing almost in the middle, enough that I can rest this in there. And then I can get a pretty good idea where this goes. And I use just put the one end in against it, get a mark in there. So I know how to make that. And then here again, I use that badan style tool. I know, shut it off. Right?
Sorry. Whatever you do.
And like I say, this was, take some off, see if it fits, and that one fits pretty good. First shot, not bad. About where it goes. That's basically the top. Now, the other thing that I do is turn the top around. And I made it too big, so I don't have, my jaws won't do it on this one. So I'd have to have a jam chuck, and I would make a jam chuck that I could snap this into so I could finish the top side of the box, the lid, which I won't be able to do here tonight because I didn't bring a jam chuck thing along. But basically, you can make a box.
Nice.
Pretty easy.
Nicely done, Mike.
Any questions? There are times when I'm hollowing out on the inside of the box that I'll use a Forstner bit. I have 1 3/8 and I have one that's 2 1/4 inches. And that works pretty good to hog out a bunch of stuff on the inside. With end grain, you try and find anything that's a little easier than getting your tools caught in there. All right, that's it for me. Thank you, Matt.
We've recorded this as we did last time. Let me quickly ask, I did send a link around for the last video. Did anyone have any trouble downloading that or viewing it?
Don't see anybody.
Everybody's quiet.
Did any of you get a chance to review it? Well, that explains why you didn't raise your hand expressing trouble. Did you all get the link?
Yeah, I got it.
Okay. Well, I will, it takes sometimes a couple of days until the link from the new video is available because I record it to the cloud. And as soon as it's available, I'll send you a link again. Has anyone tried any of the techniques that Jim demonstrated last month? And if so, what sort of success did you have? No takers, huh?
I haven't yet, but I would like to. I just need to get one of those ring tools.
Hook tool.
Ah, yes.
Hook tool.
Travis, get a hook tool rather than a ring tool.
I was wondering,
Well, I mean, they're different.
what was the size of that you're supposed to have on the end, Jim? I did start a rattle.
Oh, what size do you have to have on the end of the rattle?
I said 1 7/8, but Dan found something else that said it could be smaller. And I don't know whether Dan's still on or not. But I know that when I went looking, and there was an article in the AAW magazine a few years back, and they said 1 7/8 as well.
I did some research on it when I made my rattles too, and it says that it should be bigger than a paper that comes on a paper towel. So it shouldn't be able to fit inside the inside of a paper towel.
That's smaller than 1 7/8.
Yeah.
Okay. I was just curious. I had done that before and I was going to make another one and I couldn't remember what the size.
Where's your rule?
Here.
So Reg, these demos, they're on the cloud, they won't.
I'm sorry, Robert.
Will these demos be on our Facebook page or just on the cloud?
Just on the cloud, I think. When we had, I gave some videos to Jim Hopkins last week, and I don't know if he's had a chance to put those on the website or not. Yeah, I believe I saw them on there, actually. He
Yeah, you
had,
can if you.
that was,
Yeah.
we had photos of the meeting, I think it was in March, when we had a lot of problems here at the Rivet. That was our last in-person meeting before COVID hit.
Yeah.
So each individual video will have its own link.
Yes.
Okay,
that's-
so you can't get to all of them from one link.
No, I don't believe so.
It kind of depends on where the videos are. If I get videos, like I got some from Reg off a USB drive and I put them in our YouTube channel. And so, yeah, you could go to the YouTube channel and go through videos, but I also put them on the website as multiple links for each meeting, or at least that's my intent. I may have missed them.
Jim, did you, are you able to take that video from the cloud and put a link to it on our website?
I should be able to. I can't remember. I don't think I did that. I think I've only done your USB one, so I'll definitely do that.
Okay, well that, to answer your question then, Robert, that would give you a single source for the links.
Yeah, great. Hey, how's the YouTube page doing? Are you able to track outside views?
I haven't really paid attention to the analytics on it. The page is more like storage for videos for the website than its own sort of social presence, but
yeah, that's curious.
So the other question I have is, have any of you seen that, what the meeting's gonna be next month?
Yes.
Have we not posted that?
Well, I put it,
Yeah.
I've included it in the note.
So
yeah.
next month, there's gonna be shop tours. Hope to see you all there for that.
Yeah, and Mark, I would encourage you to at least maybe either send some photos or maybe just make a little video moving around your shop or something like that, since you're building one from scratch and you've probably got some new ideas that would be of interest to others. I think several of us have committed, Mike and Jim and maybe Larry, and I've forgotten who else. We probably can't do more than, what did we say, 5 or 6?
5 or 6 at most.
Yeah, you're gonna be testing it.
In one session, but if it proves popular, we'll obviously do it again. And then that's December, and then in January, we're moving our monthly meeting from Thursday to Saturday, the 16th.
Yes.
I don't have a time yet for that, but we have partnered with another club. So we're able, Susquehanna Woodturners, and so we're able to get access to, a professional IRD turner at a pretty low price. And then for a lot of fun in February, Jim Finley is going to come over to my shop and teach me how to turn. And we're kind of hoping that the tools don't fly through the air as he gets frustrated, and he's going to probably teach me a little bit about sharpening before we get underway. So I've been trying to practice that so I don't look too dumb. But you'll probably get a chuckle out of that meeting. So mark that one down for February.
I will finish this box up at home, and I'll have it available at the next meeting in December so that you'll be able to see it finished.
Okay, everyone. Thanks for joining us. Look forward to seeing you next month.
Or next Wednesday.
Oh, yes, or next Wednesday.
Next Wednesday at 10 a.m.
Good night, everybody.
Thank you for a great. Stay safe and healthy.
Oh, you sucker.
Yeah.
I did.